But I always tell Elijah, I think one of the things I told him, two things. He asked me one day, and I told him, I'm gonna do a podcast with Pamela. I'm gonna finally make my dreams come true. This is it. I'm gonna put it out in the universe. He's like, are you crazy, Mom? They're gonna talk about you. And I was like, well, if they talk about me, that means the bitch is relevant, whether it's positive or negative. I was like, don't you ever let somebody else's opinions make that determine whether you're gonna go for your dreams or not.
I think what brought this podcast together, and we're so excited for episode 1 to finally be here, is because transition has been such a big part of our journey.
Yes.
And one of the big reasons we were ready to launch this podcast is because we were just ready. We felt that there were a lot of things we might not be sure of, but this was one of the things that we were absolutely sure of.
So in essence, I was finally ready for the assignment. But in my life, I haven't been always ready for the assignment. And that's what I want to kind of talk about today. What happens when you get an assignment and you're not ready for the role? And that's what happened to me when I was, I got pregnant at a young age and I wasn't ready. I was pretty much like in love with somebody else for a long time. And then that relationship didn't work and I met somebody new and we started something fresh and boom, I got pregnant. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be a mom. I wasn't ready to be a wife. I wasn't ready to be a homeowner. And all of that happened to me so fast. And I feel like in life, we don't really talk about what happens when you're not ready for the assignment and how your life transitions in order for you to get ready. Because now you don't got no choice but to get yourself ready.
Well, I think a good point that you're making there is you felt you weren't ready now, but at the time you felt ready because you felt chosen. And that's
yes.
kind of the theme that we get into here, right? Is what does it mean to be chosen before you've even chosen yourself? What does it mean to be chosen by another person? And that seemed like it's enough because we all encounter that at some point of our lives. Let's keep it real.
Well, I think what happened there was when she says chosen was I was kind of like in your early 20s, involved with a guy in a relationship, but I didn't have the title, right? He didn't make me his girlfriend. So I was playing the role, right? We all play the role sometimes, but without the title. And when I asked for the title, he wasn't ready. And I met somebody that gave me this opportunity. And he was like, let me make you my girl. He chose me. And I felt chosen, not realizing that I was yearning so much for somebody else to choose me when in essence, I wasn't picking myself. I wasn't choosing me. And
I know a lot of us can relate to
of
that.
course,
Okay.
that
No
happens to
matter what
everybody.
age.
That happens to all of us. And I felt chosen and I was like, all right. But then I got all the roles and I was like, I wouldn't want to be a mama. I didn't want to be a wife.
You were a little too chosen.
Yeah.
You were chosen to be a mom, a wife, or
all of that. All of those assignments all together. And I'm grateful, right? I'm grateful for my son. I'm grateful for the journey. But I think that because I was premature to the assignment, I wasn't not successful, right? Because the marriage obviously failed. I did go through a divorce. But a part of that, I believe it was because I was still evolving. You ever feel like you're just not there yet and you're trying to like figure it out and figure you out? And I was evolving and so was he, and we were young and, everything was so fast. And
let's even talk about, the age that you're talking about specifically was at 28.
28,
which
right.
Not for nothing. A good amount of us, especially in our culture, are already married by that time. So that's why
back then, right?
Right. I think we're changing it now for sure. I'm definitely one of them. Sis is on her way to 33, and I just got married recently on my way to do, my second wedding. But even for me, I felt like there was this when I broke up with my ex, I was right around that time. I was right around that age, 28 or so. And I was like, damn, to start over again was like, I acted like I was like 40. Like, I was like, oh my God, I don't got that much time.
But isn't that cultural?
Yeah. And that's why I was like, oh my God. Like, I mean, thank God I found like such an amazing man. But even so, and then I'm like, I feel that's why we get rushed into this, because it's like not rushed into necessarily being with the person, but rushed into this idea of, yes, I was chosen and I'm on time being chosen.
We were being chosen
at 28, and then the culture brings
the timelines.
Yeah.
So regarding timelines that I believe are created by our culture, right? You have to do this by a certain age. You should have your kids at a certain age. Like, ay, ya está vieja. Ya tú estás vieja. Esa muchacha llegó a los 40. She never got married. She don't got no kids. She gonna stay by herself. And it's like, damn, but what if she hasn't figured it out? What if he hasn't figured it out? Because I feel like men go through this too. Like, what if they're not ready to be dads or a husband at 20-something? What if...
Or to be a provider of a whole family. By like 28, let's talk about it.
That's too much.
Is crazy.
It's a lot. And another reason why I feel... why a lot of relationships, we won't probably tap into that today, but when you start young like that, a lot of relationships, 17, 20 years into it, you start in your early 20s. By the time you're 40, you've evolved. You're not even the same person you was in your 20s. And if y'all don't grow together, if y'all don't do the work together, if y'all don't do that whole pouring into each other's cup together, you're not going to evolve. So I was struggling in the marriage. I was given the assignment too early. I was over here trying to do the therapy thing, trying to like, but realizing this is not it. I knew it. Like, I feel like we have this intuition, man. And I knew that this wasn't it. I knew it.
And let's talk about, I just want to say something quick about credibility, because it's something that I have literally had to remind myself many times in the past couple years. Y'all gonna hear a lot about my little therapeutic wave into this, because this is what I do for a living. And the reason why I'm so proud of being a therapist today is because of the actual work I have put in on myself. When it came to family trauma, relationship trauma, we're gonna touch upon that in a couple conversations. But credibility, like, just because someone has a certain title in my life that's important to me doesn't mean I have to listen to what they tell me, and that their advice is what I need to take. And that if I don't do what they say, I'm not good enough, or I'm not making the right choice. So I started thinking like, hold up, my mom keeps telling me how I'm a little chunky, but my mom hasn't been taking care of herself and her nutrition. So where's the credibility, ma? Like things like that. And I started thinking about that too with marriage and having kids. Like, I honestly feel there's a little part of me still. I mean, I'm waiting patiently, but there's a little part of me still that I'm like, oh, damn, I'm about to be 33. I haven't had a kid yet. And my mom definitely doesn't tell me that now, because we've done a lot of work. She ain't fully there, but she's given me something, so I'll take
space.
It. But at the same time, it's like that credibility we don't even think about. Like, just because she's our mom, and culturally, like Latino culture, like we know how it is. Like, our moms and our parents are our everything. So if they're not proud of us, something is like here hitting us. And with motherhood and like having kids and being married, that is like such a strong thing.
Well, it's the expectation, right? Like, if you don't achieve this, then you're not successful at the title you're supposed to be, right? A young girl, then you evolve and you become a young lady, and eventually you meet this person and you have this family. And if you don't do these things culturally on this timeline, then there's something off. But based on who created the timeline, and because something worked in 1950 or in the 60s or maybe early 70s, we evolve. Is not going to work now. And what works for us is probably not even going to work for our children. What worked for my child is definitely not going to work for your child, because now my child is already 15 and your child is still not here yet. So by the time your child comes, a whole 20 maybe years later, it's going to be different then too.
Well, let's talk about how for you, your pregnancy really led you to feel that you need to fulfill all these roles automatically. Like, you were in love. Like, you were in love, of course, but as soon as you got pregnant, I feel like that was the pivot for you, where you're like, I got to go all in.
Right. So, I'm pregnant, getting married, buying a condo. My career was about to pivot. I just had gotten my master's, and Now I'm giving the assignment to be a mom. And by 6 months, I was a single mom with my own mortgage, a car note, all the bills. And because the court system is the court system, I did not win, because not everybody always wins. And I was given the assignment prematurely, financially not ready, emotionally not ready, mentally like not ready, but you're ready because this is your kid. And something in you gives you this grit, this thing of like, I gotta get this job done. But because it is premature, the child is affected in some sort, because you're gonna fall, you're gonna make mistakes. You don't have, hey, you think this is a good idea? I didn't have nobody to share ideas with. I didn't know if what I was doing was right or wrong.
And God forbid you felt you messed up or you didn't do something the right way. You had to be this like good girl, performing, showing up for your child, showing up for your partner. You had to be the woman of your family at that point.
And on top of that, in the midst of that, when I was about to separate, because like cultural and your mom's and the way your family is, my mom told me, I know you're going through some things, the relationship isn't good, but think about staying just to have another baby, just one more baby, because it's going to be harder for you to get another baby. And yes, I don't have any more kids. It was harder. There is some of that held weight, but I wish she would have said, párate de ahí, stand up. Because you're going to fight the fight and you're going to get somebody else and you will get the family that you want. And if that was more poured into me, maybe I would have.
That's the thing, though. I feel like our parents have such good intention. I feel like,
of course,
because of their lack of emotional intelligence, and it's not even their fault, right? It's like, I mean, I hold my mom accountable for what she chooses to do and not do today, because I feel like she's already like, oh yeah, yo soy vieja, like, I'm not going to sit there and pick up on a new habit now, going to therapy. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really agree with that, but whatever, that's your decision.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time,
it's a lot of work.
They were giving us, right, that advice when we were younger. I get it, right? I get it. Therapy was not where it was. Emotional intelligence was not where it was today. So I felt like there's always been that good intention, but I don't understand why everything was so shame-based. It's like, let me remind you of what you're not doing correctly, so that you fix it. And it's like, no, tell me how I should fix it so that I feel motivated enough to actually do it. But I feel like they didn't have that answer. It was like fear-based. Like, just make sure you do it right. I don't know how you're going to do it, but make sure you don't do what I did.
But isn't that everywhere we go in life? Like, don't we go to school and they only check the wrong ones, right? Don't you go to work and the evaluation is based on what you do only right? What, right? Like, so okay, let's talk about what I did right, what I did good. Well, there's not a lot of praise. There's always what you've done wrong.
Right. Which is what we call positive reinforcement. Okay. So if you got a therapist that's working with your kid, you're probably going to hear that. They're not just BSing. This is what we're talking about. If you actually focus on reminding someone of the things they are getting right. And it's like, okay, maybe you're not getting this right. Maybe I don't know what you should do about it, but let's figure it out together. There's resources, there's free stuff online, like all over. But for some reason, right, we didn't have those opportunities. And now I think our biggest fear, even for, our generation, because we're technically still in the same generation, even though we a couple years apart. I think our biggest thing is we still have the trauma. We're working around the trauma, but our kids are even more emotionally intelligent than we were at a younger age. So we're just trying to do better every single generation. But there's that turmoil. I feel like that conflict with yourself of what you should do, how you should do it, how we should do relationships, how we should do motherhood still stays in our head. And our parents' opinions still have weight.
Of course.
Even if we do the work. I feel like for us, it's just we're like the middle children here. Like our kids, the next generation, they're like unapologetically themselves. Ma, this is what I want.
I believe that too.
But for us, we still, even as adults, like my sister-in-law tells me all the time, she's like, yo, that's mad funny. You still act like you scared of your mother. I'm like, because I am.
Well, I think there's respect, out of the respect.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so true you say that, because I've had relationships where I'm not married to the person, but out of respect, if I'm with the person, they can't sleep in my room. They got to sleep in the living room because that's not my husband. And if they sleep over, like, yo, and that's such an old school tradition, like what? But that's the vibe, you know. Yes. But I will acknowledge, before we go to the next segment, I want to acknowledge something that happens when you're not ready for the assignment. To talk about when you're given the assignment prematurely, I feel like, in essence, you do mourn a loss of some sort. And I wasn't ready for the assignment, which then, I don't know if subconsciously built certain fears within me, but I didn't heal on time. I didn't do the work on time. I guess I didn't also date with purpose. So I was giving the wrong men the title that didn't, have the right requirements. So then I wasn't able to create this family, these children, this ideal life that I had envisioned, right? And then I had to mourn that because that doesn't exist, right? And I think that...
Based on what though?
Well, it doesn't, like, I don't have, any more children. Like, I didn't have the husband and the white picket fence and all this stuff. And that's the stuff that you put in your head. And maybe it doesn't hold so many value in everybody's life, but it held value in my life, right?
Think about how many people have the 3 children and the 4 children and are not happy.
Absolutely.
Right? So
that doesn't mean that you were going to be happy. It didn't mean that I was going to be... I guess what I felt was it was going to... Like, I did the right job. Like, I guess a timeline, the way we're raised culturally, like, I did it right. I did it right. As corny as that may sound, or I did it right. Like, I got the job. I went to college. I found the husband. I created the family. I have a successful marriage. Like, I have these kids. We're good in our hood,
I did everything up to par, and somehow I didn't check off or check out how I envisioned, even though I did everything as I should have. I hear that. And that's where the part of that loss is coming in.
Because I didn't do, I guess, everything I should have. I didn't get the result that I wanted.
Well, I honestly think that, and again, seeing it from my perspective in your situation, I think that what you have today and what the decisions that you've made today, maybe the loss that you're mourning today, is actually a lesson for a lot of people that rather stay in relationships that are not fulfilling for the simple fact of not having to feel that loss. Like,
100%.
It's a lot easier to
stay.
Portray the happy family. It's a lot easier to not be alone and have company, even though that company is not the best company. Like, let's keep it real. We've stayed in situations way longer than we should have in the past, and there's a reason for that. And if you're not healed, even more, you're prone to fall into these places and stay there because it's what feels comfortable. I always say, like, us human beings, like, we love what feels comfortable and what feels familiar. It's always harder to be healthier. The amount of conversations I've had with my husband today are conversations so many people wouldn't have. They're uncomfortable as shit.
Like, of course, yeah, of course.
They're so uncomfortable. But however, today I can literally fall asleep knowing literally I could tell my husband, like, the next day, like, yo, fulanito me vino un sueño el otro día, like, that's crazy, voy a jugar la lotería, like. And my husband, you know how they say people show up in your dreams, you gotta play the lottery. So I sat there and I'm like, I could literally sit there waiting until my husband, that he gonna be like, you better play that number and let that man give us the gains we need in your life. Like, it's because of that. And I feel like that's what did it for me. I always said, after I left my past relationship that I met my husband today, my husband is not the person I would have normally gone for. But I said, you know what? This man got emotional intelligence. And that shit can't be bought.
Like, there's a lot of, absolutely.
That, and it's very rare, unfortunately, right? There are some great men that are out there, but it's very rare. And even women, to find people in general that are emotionally.
But that's because you, in essence, like you said, you put in the work. Mm-hmm. You put in the work that you needed to, and I think that although it was premature and I was given the roles that I was given prematurely, it was still ultimately what God had in my plan. Like, in order for me to be the version that I am today, I had to go through that story. I had to go through that thing. I'm still going through the thing. I'm still learning today. I'm still trying to figure it out. But aren't we all? Aren't we all trying to get to that space? Aren't we all?
You're still a baddie with a kid. Let's keep it real, okay? Okay, get up and show them the mama. Okay, that's a whole mother. That's what I'm saying. That is a whole mother right there. Teenage, and she kicking it.
So I'm happy, and it was growth, and it's beautiful. The journey. Everybody's journey is good and bad. Like, it hasn't been easy. I'm still evolving.
Tell us how you are learning about yourself while being a mom. Tell us how you're healing now in the midst of motherhood.
Your motherhood is probably the hardest job that you have to do.
I respect that.
And you don't have a guide. There's no manual. Nobody tells you if you're doing the right, the wrong job. You have to deal with, and shout out to the moms that have more than one child, because I have one and I'm like, yo, me estoy ahogando, I'm dying. And he's cool. My son is chill. He don't give me no problems. He's very relaxed and I'm proud. He's calm, but it's hard because I wish he spoke more. I wish I understood more what he feels, but he's always been, let me make mommy happy. Let me make daddy happy. So in essence, you're quiet because you just want everybody to be happy. So some of that was because of the dynamic of being in separate households. But motherhood is also the biggest blessing you can have in life. It's a gift, like I created a whole human being. And now you're responsible for this person. And that's hard because their loss is your loss. Their wins are your wins. When they're going through great times, you're happy. But when they go through hard times, you feel that too. And I feel like his success is your success. So what happens is if your child is not successful, then you feel that's a reflection upon yourself. And now you did a bad job. Bad job, you know? And as a mom or parents, right? Even when your kids are like, let's say they're doing something wrong, or perhaps you feel like they could be better in certain things in their areas of life, it's hard for you to know where your kids, where they fall short, and accepting that. Accepting where your kid might fall short and accepting it and realizing that it's perhaps not a reflection on you and raising them. It's just them as an individual and helping them get there. Yeah.
I was going to say, question for you is, how do you allow them to feel their own emotions without necessarily, you know how you said their loss is your loss to a certain extent?
Of course.
And how do you allow them to confidently manage those emotions, take those emotions as their own and say, okay, they're not mommy's emotions. Mommy has empathy, or mom has empathy for what you're going through, but those are not mom's emotions. That wasn't mom's situation. So how do you let them, and I guess this ties into the question that I asked you before of how do you heal from your parts without necessarily, because I think we take it, and again, I'm not a parent, right? So I'm thinking about just situations
take it personal
at work, right?
Yeah.
There's so many parents that embody their kids' issues. And it's like, but you haven't even fixed yours and you're trying to fix your kids. And in you not fixing yours
is why they have some of those.
Right. So my whole thing is, it's okay to allow them to feel. And if anything, you're more there to listen to them, to give recommendations, but you also have to be honest of, you know what? Mom doesn't really know what you should do in that situation. Mom actually has a hard time with that too.
Yeah.
Who else do you think we could talk about this?
Right.
Right. So like, how do you, and I guess that's where I go in, how do you heal and take on your own stuff, separated from your kids?
You do. You have to. You have to try without letting it try to cross, but that's hard. That is so hard for you to separate that. Some of their stuff is not your stuff. Some of the things that my son is going to go through, some of his emotions, some of the things he feels, that, you know, there is not because of anything wrong or bad that I did or didn't do. It's just life, right? We're all going to go through stuff and we're all going to have to handle it. But I always tell Elijah, I think one of the things I told him, two things. He asked me one day, and I told him, I'm going to do a podcast with Pamela. I'm going to finally make my dreams come true. This is it. I'm going to put it out in the universe. He's like, are you crazy, Mom? They're going to talk about you. And I was like, well, if they talk about me, that means the bitch is relevant. Whether it's positive or negative. I was like, don't you ever let somebody else's opinions make that determine whether you're going to go for your dreams or not. You crazy? Nobody else's opinions is gonna matter. You gotta go for what you wanna go for. So I always tell him that. You wanna play that sport, play that sport. You wanna change the sport and play a different sport, well, change it up and play something else. Like, cause life changes, we all evolve, we change. Maybe you're strength in one season in one thing, and the next season you're stronger in something else. Like, drop it up and pick it up. Don't ever surrender. Don't do that.
Pick it up slow. Sorry.
Exactly.
I'm gonna do this real often. Because she already knows.
There are times that I have to realize that his emotions are his, and I'm like, let's talk about that. What that makes you feel? Where does that come from? But I've asked my son, where do you think I could be better as a mom?
Yeah. I think you're talking, and I'm like, it's really hitting me because, you know, as I'm ready to like, we're gonna get married very soon. Our church wedding.
Yes.
We have this huge celebration, and we
Puerto Rico.
next step is to be parents when we feel ready, and right when we feel ready.
You're never ready.
And then I hear my mom like, you're never gonna feel absolutely.
No.
There's never the right time to become a parent. I'm like, I hear that. However, I don't know if it's because of what I do for work. I don't know if it's what it is, but I'm just like, there are things that I feel I would want my partner and I to really heal enough through, or feel healed enough about, in regards to our own stuff. Because I think my biggest fear is to obviously unintentionally, subconsciously pass on certain things to my children. And I know part of it is just you just figure it out as you go, right? And I have enough
trial and error.
I have enough badass moms around me to know that you just figure it out and it's going to be fine. But I think that has always been my biggest fear, in feeling ready to take that next step. And as I hear you speak and as I hear you parent, I'm just like, where do we find the balance of getting ready and feeling ready? Right? I'm always saying that little quote of like, I stay ready, so I never got to get ready. But it's like, that's really a thing though. That really takes effort, right? Staying ready so that you never have to get ready.
But then you're ready for that, and then you stay stuck there and you don't go get ready for the next thing, because that's where the growth happens, right? So you might be ready for one part, but you're not going to be ready for the next part because you just didn't know what was going to happen in your life, or because some assignments are given to you without a timeline.
Right.
It's just kind of like, hey, whether you're ready or not, tag, you're it.
Yes. That actually brings me to a point that I'm seeing here, is realizing you gave what you could with what you had at the time.
That's all I had.
So you really did a great job. I think doing a great job is doing the best you can with what you got. There's really not more you can, you know.
And I'm grateful. I didn't come. I think for me, more, I gave what I got was more mental. Like, I realized I had to go get do the soul searching. I had to go to therapy, and I was in therapy for a bit. And I went back and forth. Like, you go, you tap into it, because nobody really talks about the therapy thing. Like, it's really hard. Like, it's a lot of self-reflection. It's a lot of looking within. It's a lot of realizing where you went short, like where you fall short, where the places you could fit, like the things you got to work on, and holding yourself accountable each day. I know where I fall short. Like, I tell my son, where do I fall short? He tells me where I fall short, and I struggle in that same area in relationships as well. So it's constantly making that effort. But I did the best I could with what I had. But then I went to figure out how I can be more and be better.
Do you feel like your situation at 28, this big pivot of your life, do you feel like it interfered with you achieving your dreams? Because we're here today and you're doing fulfilling a dream.
My TV dreams? No, I think my podcast and radio dreams.
Spanish Oprah. That's all I remember hearing from my cousin.
My dreams was always to be the Spanish Oprah. Me and Oprah have the same birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like a Spanish Oprah and interview people, because I love connecting with other people. I went to TV and broadcasting school. I did communications in college. That's where my bachelor's is in it. But I never pursued it, because after radio and TV school, I kind of met the father of my son, and I got pregnant and so forth. So I don't think it was my son. I think it was more me. Like, I don't blame it on motherhood. I blame it on us not holding ourselves accountable for our dreams. we always put them on pause. We always think we can't do it. We always, I should have, gone done the internship at Hot 97. I should have taken the leap, but I didn't because I was always chasing the money, right? How much money am I going to make? How much money I'm going to make?
And I guess that's what I mean by that, right? Is do you think that after having this huge responsibility of your child, you're not
Maybe
willing
you're right.
to take as many risks, right?
Because I had to make the money, right?
And I think our biggest fear as parents, correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I'm not a parent, but I think our biggest fear is now it's not just a me. Now I got to think about my kid. And if my kid ever is missing a piece of bread or breakfast or whatever, that's on me.
Well, you don't think...
So I feel like that fear drives you to not accomplish 100%. Much.
You might be right.
Because it's like, holy crap, what if this internship doesn't pan out? What if this job doesn't happen? What if, and now that's why you start chasing the money. Because the secure money.
Yes.
Secure money.
The internship more happened when I was way younger, my party years, when I was straight out of college, like 21, 22.
Girl, straight out of college.
But here it is, right? 21, 22, so much deep-rooted mom and daughter trauma unaddressed. I didn't want to go back home and live with my mom. So if I go intern, I'm not going to make money, can't pay the rent. Let me go work at the bank. Because I was making money. I've always been in the financial industry. So let me go work in the financial industry, make this money, have my own place. Don't got to deal with the rules and the structure and all of that, and not addressing the real stuff. And had I addressed it, perhaps everything else would have, planned out differently. But then the lesson would have not been learned.
Right.
So it's the same thing.
And we were talking about that the other day. Through struggle is that we really get to pave the way. Like the struggle is what leads us on the path, right? Because now we know what we don't want. Now we know what doesn't make us feel comfortable, right? And like in me, again, in this theme of me not feeling ready per se, I planned out a whole future with my ex, right? And now I know I wasn't ready to hit that target at that point of my life because I wasn't the person to go there with. But I think that timeline kept ticking, right? But for me, I think that I was ready to put certain things on pause. And I think that those things delay, right? So they don't deny, right? God's plan is always right.
Yes.
But it's sometimes...
So is this timing?
Not denied. And we think that sometimes it's just a deny. And you know what? I can't do this. I'm just going to take a break, or this is not the right time. And even with the podcast, like, I think that, I thank you because I feel like I'm such a planner, true Virgo. I feel like I would have literally delayed this like another year. And she was like, no, we just gonna do it. Like
right this summer, like right now.
Oh, just do it right now. Let's do it here. And I'm just like, okay, like, and I allowed myself to go with it. But it's because I always feel that I'm not ready to hit certain targets. And look at where that had gotten me before, right? Like I'm 33, I'm almost 33, and I thought I would have my private practice by now. I thought in my career I'd be in a different place. Again, had I married this person at that age, I felt like by this time I would have had kids, I would have had a family, I would have been married with the man that I thought I wanted to marry years ago. I would have had my and this whole plan, and it's like, bro, but look what God had ready for you now.
And we have like such a hard time adapting with a different plan. That's not what you thought.
Oh my God.
Because ain't nobody's plan better than my plan.
Yep.
But
the version of you now is very whole.
Not very whole, girl, please.
You need full of holes.
Girl, I'm trying to fill in the holes. While not being a hoe. So let's reflect. I wasn't ready back then, but I'm becoming the version that I needed. Yes.
How do you prove that to yourself every day? What are the things that you feel you're doing to affirm that? And don't let it get in the way of like gearing other places.
I think I hold myself accountable not only for my personal dreams, but my career, right? So I have a career mentor because I also want to get to a different point in my career path, right? So I don't have a personal therapist. That's probably something I should look into. But I do a lot of inner work by like listening to different podcasts and perhaps listening to other books and things like that. I think in this season of in the place that I'm in right now in my life, because some people don't like the word season. So we'll say
they don't like the word season.
I don't know, some people don't like it because whatever. But in this place that I am in my life, I find myself evolving in different aspects. I do want to be a better mother. I feel like when your child is in his teens, you kind of lose him because he's evolving, but there's no more doing things together. Like we don't go to the beach together anymore. We don't do, because he doesn't need to rely on me. He has his own friends.
He's season.
Exactly.
Use the word.
He's not there, right?
Season.
So I'm trying to create new ways where I can connect with my son, right? Holding myself accountable, I think, is the only way where I can continue to evolve in every aspect of my life.
What if I told you he is okay?
My son?
He's fine. You don't need to find more ways to. You did.
I feel like I do, man.
Yeah, but you know what? I always tell. He's not in. He's in the years right now where even if you did, it's not gonna hold the weight that it holds for you in him, because right now he's in a space. Let's talk about the regular stages of development. He's in an age right now where it's all about him and his friends and his social life.
Of course. When I was 15.
So even if you didn't find the times to bond with him, he ain't holding that against you.
Right.
Right? You did what you needed to do in the time that he needed you. So right now, what if I told you it is the time to focus on you? It is the time, because let's talk about it. Finding a therapist, that's a good therapist. As a therapist, I'll be the first one to say, I know it is not easy to find a therapist, because finding a good therapist feels like you're dating, which is very true. You got to try a couple.
Well, because of the vulnerability, right? You got to open up.
But I'm going to put it out here because we real ready to talk about our personal life with all the little people we want to date. We real ready to talk about our personal stuff and talk about our life struggles when we're dating to find our next husband, our next wife. But we don't want to do that to talk about our personal life with a couple therapists, which are people that are guaranteed people that ain't going to be out here talking about your stuff. A person you're dating, you can't guarantee that. So I will say, I know it's not easy, but we got to allow ourselves the opportunity. And part of that is putting our priorities and our needs first. And again, these are things that we're willing to do for our children or for other people we love. But the minute something takes a while for us to focus on ourselves and prioritize ourselves and finding the right thing that we need, we're like, it's too long.
The struggle with that is, I think, as a single mom or even mom parenting, is that mom guilt is real.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I struggle feeling like I failed him. Don't make me cry. Because
this is Soul y Sazón.
I failed him because I didn't give him the complete home. So because I failed him at that, because it wasn't his fault, right? He didn't ask to be born. You feel like you always want to do more to make up for what you feel you failed. And that is the guilt. That has nothing to do with my son. Nothing to do with him. But those feelings are freaking real. And that's my version of it. And that's a single mom's version. But that guilt, a mother that has a husband feels, a mother that has a home and, the white picket fence life, right? Feels that too. And it's the shit that we have to address, right?
Think about our lives, right? I grew up with a single mom. You didn't.
Right.
You grew up with both your parents and you still felt something. So it's a sense of resiliency, right? I think that's what it comes down to, is resiliency. And you see how, I don't want to say how good we turned out, but how accomplished we feel to a certain extent, right? Even in situations that probably our parents wouldn't have wanted to give us, right? Like, I know, I'm going to speak for my part. I definitely know my mom didn't plan to be a single mother, but my mom did the best she could with what she had, which is what we were talking about here. And although that gap of not having my father in my life was there, I was able to move forward, right? With that hole. So I feel like, yes, she was probably real guilty about it, but I turned out okay, right? And I think that
But you never know what she felt in that process while you turned out okay.
But that's what I'm saying, right? But also I felt like, had she worried less about that guilt and put more into working
her home, you would have.
I feel like I would have had an even more wholesome experience, right? Like, my mom was busting her ass working, and she couldn't go to, when I used to run track back in the day when I was in shape.
You was running.
I was running, baby. So my mom couldn't come to any of my stuff.
Me
And
too.
that, man, like the holes that were left there, ese vacío, they like hearing people cheering and I didn't have any of my parents there.
But you see, I didn't go to all my son's games.
See, but you go to a lot of them,
Okay.
right? So her guilt as a mom probably made her work even more to give us what we needed, but she lacked
The presence.
other
Yeah.
areas, right? Like, maybe we would have been good without. I got everything I wanted growing up. Like I had all the material things that I wanted, but I'm like, yo, maybe I didn't even need that. And I just had you not worked on Saturdays and gone to my meet, that probably would have meant so much more to me than a pair of Tims back in the day. You know, like I got my black Tims. I was so happy. That's the first memory I got right now about material things she got me. But you know what I mean? Like, and again, we're seeing it from two different views, right? Because now you're a mom that's trying to do something different. I think we want to leave our listeners and audience with a little reflection for journaling because we're going to keep it soulful to a certain extent, right? So we want to leave you with this affirmation of, I did the best I could with what I had, and now I'm better with
what I've learned. Yeah. And we all learn, right? And that's what we have to do. You have to do better with what you learn every day in life and apply it to the next season of your life. To the next part, to the next, step, to the next assignment.
I always say the most beautiful thing about life is that every day we have a choice. And today you can be a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. There's always an opportunity for growth and to become a better version of yourself. So do the best of what you got.
But that's hard.
The recap.
It's hard, but we're gonna get there.
Yes.
We're gonna get there little by little.
All right. It is time. Let's get soulsy.
Ooh, soulsy. Let's get soulsy.
Soulsy, baby.
So this part of the podcast is called the Soul y Sazón question, where I get to ask Pam a question that she doesn't know that I'm going to ask about. And it's probably more deep-rooted because she is thy therapist. And then she's going to ask me a spicy question that I have no idea about. And I get to answer it as authentic as I can be because that's what this is about. All right. So I'm ready. Let's see. My first question is, if you could speak to the version of yourself who said yes too soon, what blessing and what warning would you give her?
Ooh, okay. What blessing is keep going, because even when you think you know it all, there's still a moment of growth. So I would give the blessing of just keep it going. Even though you said yes, it's not the end. We got to keep it going. And you said what else?
What blessing and what warning would you give the person that you're speaking to yourself that said yes too soon?
Don't say yes because of where you think you need to be. Say yes because of where you truly envision yourself becoming and being. So I when I said yes to being with a person, imagining my future with that person, I wasn't thinking about long term. I was thinking about just what I felt in that moment. So that would be it. Keep it there. Now my spicy question is, I don't even have it on me, but we just gonna sit there and I think I remember. So my spicy question for you is, real quick, because we ran out of time, is what red flags do you have that you are actually proud of?
Oh. Well, red flag number 1, I do have a short fuse.
That started this family, though.
I mean, I'm going to say I'm passionate. Like a true Latina, I'm very passionate. But I'm explosive. And I think that, even my son tells me this, I'm a reactive person. So I react to an emotion. So some people are very analytical and strategic in their approaches in life, and I think I'm more emotion-based driven, which is what which is what makes me react However, my reactions when I say explosive are not always a negative way. I can react with a lot of love and a lot of gift giving and a lot of, passion and lust and sex, right? But then it can be explosive, like, esa tipa está loca.
You have to be careful where it's going. What intensity do we getting at in the
Right?
spectrum?
So that is a red flag. You have to be a better balanced human being in life. That has gotten, it has, but it's a good and bad flag.
Jesus, take the wheel when you need to. All right.
That's a good one.
Woo!
I like that.
A wrap for today.
Thank you so much, Pam.
much, Prima, for this conversation. We are going to continue getting soulful and sazony seasoning. We're going to sprinkle that razzle dazzle throughout the rest of our season. We are so excited to be here, and we have more to come.
Thank you. Love you. Long time. Today's episode was for anyone who said yes before they were ready, before they really knew themselves, before they had the tools that they needed. And listen, that doesn't make you weak. That makes you human. So here's your assignment. Check in with your past self, the one who rushed, the one who was trying to figure it all out. What did the season teach you? ¿Qué aprendiste? Remember to give that version of you some grace. You're not who you were, you're who you're becoming. This is Soul y Sazón, where the flavor of the world blends with the stories of the heart. Keep showing up with soul and lots of flavor, honey. Love you. Long time.